if President
benefactors.
Obama sued his own department, his own IRS, and settled with himself, I guarantee you that you and every conservative on Fox would be running around screaming for impeachment. You guys would be trying to throw him in alligator Alcatraz.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Charles on Point. I'm Charles, and that exchange right there is what has people talking. Today we're looking at a political debate that raises a very uncomfortable question about accountability and double standards. The panel is discussing a controversial $1.8 billion fund connected to Donald Trump. And things get heated when Isaiah Martin puts the political double standard argument front and center. He asks a simple but powerful question. What would happen if Barack Obama had done the exact same thing? Would conservatives react the same way? Or would the outrage be completely different? That question opens up a much bigger debate about accountability, political loyalty, and whether the same rules really apply to both sides. Guys, trust me, the discussion that follows gets even more heated. Watch the full exchange and stay with me because I'll give you my thoughts toward the end. Also, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. I genuinely love seeing how far the Charles on Point community reaches. Now, let's get into it.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Dean in for Abby Phillip today, and we're still 3 months from the dog days of summer, but for Donald Trump's political standing, it's hot as hell already. For the past 3 months, the president launched a war that's still going without an obvious end at this moment, sending gas prices through the roof. No state has had less than $4 a gallon 48 hours ago. Inflation is rising. Mortgage rates rose to the highest they've been in 9 months. Bond yields are the highest since before the financial crisis, and his poll numbers keep crashing. But all the president can seem to talk about over and over are the things like his arch, the reflecting pool, his marble walkway, and the ballroom, which he gave a tour of this week.
This is a gift to the United States of America, and more than a gift, it's going to be one of the most beautiful buildings that's ever been built in the country or in Washington, D.C. This is not for me. This is my gift to the United States of America.
When it comes to those gas prices mentioned, he doesn't think much of them.
This is peanuts, and I appreciate everybody putting up with it for a little while. It won't be much longer.
And this week introduced a new twist to the outrage. Trump defended a $1.8 billion slush fund with taxpayer money to compensate his allies that he claims were wrong. And that includes January 6th rioters. And if that's not enough, part of that deal forbids the IRS from forever investigating him or his family's taxes. Even conservative columnist Jonah Goldberg raised the idea of impeachment, saying by their definition, the founding fathers would have gotten rid of Trump long ago. I want to welcome everyone to the table. Thanks so much for being here, guys. It's interesting. We heard from Trump on Truth Social, where he was kind of congratulating himself. He said that he gave up a lot of money in allowing the just announced anti-weaponization fund to go forward. I could have settled my case, including the illegal release of my tax returns and the equally illegal break-in of Mar-a-Lago, for an absolute fortune. Instead, I am helping others who were so badly abused by an evil, corrupt, and weaponized Biden administration receive, at long last, justice. Alyssa, I'll start first with you. The president not backing down from this, and it seems like he's living in this reality right now, whereas there's the other reality for millions of Americans who are looking at this weekend with really high gas prices, really high grocery prices. The list can go on.
Well, and let's just look back to what started this. The president's tax returns were leaked. That shouldn't have happened. That was wrong. That was unethical. The gentleman who did that is serving 5 years in jail. It's not like there weren't consequences for those actions. But now this is money that was congressionally appropriated to the Internal Revenue Service that is going to be used for this, what I would say amounts to a slush fund, to go out to people who feel like they were victims of political weaponization. And that could include people who may have assaulted police officers, destroyed property at the Capitol. And I'd also remind you, those people, most of them already received blanket pardons from the president or commutations of their sentences. So many of these also went on to commit other crimes down the road. So this this just comes at a moment when there are so many glaring signs of things the president should be focusing on, that the American people want him to focus on, and it feels deeply out of touch. I am still incredibly bullish that this is never actually going to come to fruition. The fund itself. Between Congress, this is just blatantly illegal. This has to go through a congressional appropriation. And if Congress doesn't find a way to block it, then I do think the courts will step in. We've seen him do it with Doge, with other times that funds were appropriated for something different and then redirected. So we'll see if it ever comes to life.
I mean, I would push back on that a little bit. What you call the slush fund, I find to call the anti-weaponization fund. And I'm sure on both sides of the aisle, we all have friends whose lives have been absolutely ruined, whether they were innocent. And you said that this is going to people who assaulted police officers on January 6th. It could, but the truth is we don't know where this money's going yet. And I feel like we're always prematurely just very negative when it comes to anything that President Trump wants to do. But I view this as something very altruistic. Trump did not take the money and put it in his pocket like he could have, and like most people probably would have done. And instead, he wants to help those people who were absolutely destroyed by the weaponization of the government. I have friends who declared bankruptcy over proving they're innocent, that spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, some millions, to avoid spending time in jail, and they don't get that money back. Why can't we help those people?
Well, therein lies the root of the problem. You just said the very simple fact that we're not going to know exactly who gets this money. I know that there was this testimony inside of the United States Congress in which they said that there's really no rules behind what's going to happen. So I think that it's absolutely absurd that there's going to be a fund that's $1.8 billion. We don't know where the money's going to go through.
Yes.
And honestly, we don't know if we'll ever know who the money's going to go to. You don't think that that's absurd, that
like
the president of the United States can create a fund and divvy payments to people and we don't know who the money goes to?
I mean, we know that it's going to people who have been weaponized by the government. Now, whether that goes to, like you said, January 6th protesters or people like James Comey, who I find is guilty, we don't know yet. So why don't we wait and see before we are outrageous?
Going to give James Comey a payout for wrongful prosecution as they're trying to prosecute him. That doesn't seem like.
But that is the root of it. That's the root of the issue.
Yeah, but
the root of the issue is that we will never know.
People in this country who have been wronged by the law have already
that's what they said.
Have legal pathways to seek justice for that. And you know, what you said, Trump could have just taken the money. No, he can't just take the money because we live in a. Yes, because I mean,
I want to ask this question because Emily, you were saying Trump didn't benefit. What about this piece, this other piece,
settlement with himself?
About the
that he negotiated with himself.
Settle that.
He is the government.
But I want to ask about the IRS not being able to prosecute him or his family over taxes forever. What do you think about that?
Obviously, optically, it looks horrendous. I think anybody can
admit that. Because it is horrendous.
Anyone can admit that. But there's also an unprecedented amount of persecution when it comes to the Trump and the Trump family. There has never been a president that has been persecuted as much as Donald Trump, whether it's illegally releasing his IRS, which I'm happy he's sitting 5 years in jail because that would never be tolerated under anyone else. But it's just the target on President Trump. Personally, it's outrageous.
Jeff Bezos also had his tax returns illegally released.
And that's
so should he be entitled to $2 billion? Where does this stop?
If he wants to sue, he absolutely has the right to.
So are we going to say that for every single person that they should all be entitled to $2 billion?
They have the right to sue, but I also think.
But none of them or the president of the United States can negotiate with themselves.
But them and the president, to me, have equal treatment. If Bezos wants
equal
to sue,
treatment. It's the president of the United States that's negotiating his own settlement.
Well, and let's keep in mind, guys,
there
is in this moment in the country, people are struggling. There is real financial and economic hardship right now. People's healthcare costs are going up. Inflation, gas prices are between $5 and $6 a gallon. Is this the best use of government resources?
Yes,
I don't know any conservative who could argue that this is how we should be using this money.
I mean, here's
the context. This is a pattern of the President of the United States pilfering from the national coffers to serve his own political and personal ends. We have the Board of Peace, billions of dollars of taxpayer money without any congressional authorization or oversight. You know, you've got all of the stock trades that he's made, $750 million worth of stock trades on issues that he's adjudicating. This is a level of self-dealing and corruption that no one has seen before, and you have to view this slush fund in that context because
if there was ever,
it's obvious that he's doing it for political reasons and that the lawsuit against the IRS was a sham lawsuit that was never moving forward anyway.
I'm just going to say
just a thinly veiled excuse to pay off his own political
If President
benefactors.
Obama sued his own Department his own IRS and settled with himself, I guarantee you that you and every conservative on Fox would be running around screaming for impeachment. You guys would be trying to throw him in alligator Alcatraz.
Actually, one thing I will
That's
pat
what you would
myself
want.
on the back for is I know bipartisanly when something is wrong or not. I'm not the person that's like, oh, every Democrat's wrong and every Republican's right. That's something that you cannot
And a president
generalize.
negotiating
If that
with
happened
himself?
to Obama, by the way, anyone who's wronged, the law is the same, whether you're the president or not.
But
If
he's the
somebody
one that's
did leak
negotiating the
Obama's
settlement.
tax
Why
records,
can't we-
he
He's
should
negotiating with himself.
we
No one
could
else has that
simply-
ability. You cannot compare him to other billionaires, to other people, to other
And other
people on
presidents
earth,
who have not
because
been as
he's the one that
persecuted as Donald
dictates
Trump.
the terms
You're right,
of his own
this never
settlement.
happened
If,
before.
if we could just get a commitment from the administration that not a single dollar would go to somebody who assaulted a police officer,
I agree
we
with
could
you.
begin a conversation. Maybe I still wouldn't support it, but some Republicans in the Senate might. But we couldn't even get that from the Deputy Attorney General,
Yeah,
a commitment
he
that
did not
leaders
get
of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers might not get million-dollar settlements to then, what, fund domestic terrorism?
And then, Alyssa, we also won't get the names of the people at all.
Correct.
So we'll never be able to verify anything.
There's not a lot of
There's
transparency.
a lot of questions around this, and we're going to talk about as we come back.
Guys, after watching that entire exchange, I think Isaiah Martin's comparison gets right to the heart of the issue. Because look, the real question isn't whether Donald Trump has faced unfair treatment in the past. The question is whether that history should give him a completely different standard of accountability. When the controversy involves his own administration, his own interests, or people politically connected to him. And here's the thing, if you believe that no president should be able to use government power or taxpayer money to benefit themselves or their political allies, then that principle has to apply regardless of whether there's a Democrat or Republican sitting in the White House. You can't demand accountability when your political opponent is in power, and then suddenly ask everyone to be patient and understanding when your own side is being questioned. But I also think there's another part of this debate that we shouldn't ignore. Isaiah's Obama comparison is politically powerful, but comparisons only work when the underlying facts are actually comparable. That's why the details surrounding this fund matter so much. Who exactly qualifies for the money? Who decides who receives it? What oversight is in place? And most importantly, can the public actually see where the money goes? Because, guys, those are legitimate questions, and asking them doesn't automatically mean you're attacking Donald Trump. It means you're asking the government to be transparent with taxpayer money. Now, let's be honest. If Barack Obama had been accused of creating a massive fund connected to his own legal battles and political allies, conservatives would absolutely be demanding answers. And if a Republican president had done something similar, Democrats would almost certainly be doing the exact same thing. That's politics. Both sides have done this for years, and that's why I think the standard has to be consistent. At the same time, criticizing Trump doesn't automatically make every accusation against him true, and defending Trump doesn't automatically make every decision he makes reasonable. That's where American politics has gone completely off the rails. Too many people aren't judging individual actions anymore. They're defending their team. And once politics becomes nothing more than team sports, accountability becomes selective. So here's the question I think every political supporter should ask themselves. Would I be defending this if the person in the White House belonged to the other party? Because if your answer changes depending on whether there's a D or an R next to someone's name, then maybe the problem isn't just with the politicians, maybe it's also with the standards we're using to judge them. But that's my take, guys. Now I want to hear from you. Was Isaiah Martin right to bring Barack Obama into this comparison, or do you think the situations are completely different? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe to Charles on Point, and share this with someone who follows political debates. Your support really helps the channel grow, and I'll see you in the next one.